Hello and welcome once again to the channel, working on the Volvo 480. So let's see how we get on this time around. So last time we were waiting for the ECU, the replacement ECU to arrive, and I'll show you the update on that very shortly. Then what we need to do is we need to do some cable tracing to make sure that if we plug the new ECU in, that it doesn't cause the same problem. So that's the next step that we need to do on the Volvo 480. So please do remember to give us a like, thumbs up, and of course subscribe to the channel to get more updates on the Volvo 480 that we're working on, but also some more of the car fix videos, because I've got a few more car things coming up very shortly on the channel. So make sure you stay subscribed and you'll find out what's going to be happening next. And here it is, good news is the ECU has arrived. So I've already ripped it open and I can look inside. The unboxing videos are all a thing on YouTube, so let's join in and unbox my ECU. And it's already a good start. It looks about the same to me, and sure enough it's got the same codes. It's for the V20F engine, so all of that looks good. What I'm going to do is we'll open it up and we'll take a look at what the circuit board looks like we did with the last one. Quite straightforward. These little star screws, there's another one on the end of the connector there. We'll open that up, take a little look and just make sure, see what it looks like inside. So I've taken all of the little screws out, so we can open the box up now and we can take our first look inside our replacement ECU. Now you can see again it's potted in this green material. Now looking in the region where we had the problem last time, it all looks good. I don't see any burnt traces or damage. Now it's not to say that there might not be hiding damage, but and this is the first time I've looked inside it as well since it arrived too, and I've got to say that looks in good nick. Let's get that put back together, as I think we're onto a winner there. So the plan is, what we're going to do is, using the circuit diagram we've got, we can trace and find out the different pins on the ECU that should be going up to the positive, and there's also the ones that are grounded and going off into injectors, sensors, that kind of thing. So the idea is to work through all of the pins and make sure that the ones that are grounded go to ground and the ones that go to positive, and we don't have a leakage either way. And that'll make sure that we know that when the new ECU goes in, it's not going to ground or give positive to something that it shouldn't have. So first of all, let's compare. This is the old ECU, the faulty one. Here's the new one, 471869/02. It's got exactly the same numbers on it, so that's great news. That's what I wanted to make sure. So that looks like it's a good replacement. Now what we want to do is this connector here is the ECU. What I can do is get the multimeter in and work my way along the pins, work out which one's top left so we know which one is pin 1, and we can go from there and figure it out. So I'm going to do that and I'll come back to you shortly. So now that I've tested the pins against it and I'm not seeing any shorting to ground or positive, that I don't think so, The next thing to look at is the fuses. Now on this I've got the diagram for the fuses, however there's a couple of mismatches. So in position 5 on the diagram it's blank. If we look at the fuse box, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a 20 amp fuse in it. So the thing is though, there were so many different releases and revisions of this car, it's difficult to get an accurate diagram and information about this. So I think what I might need to do is look at the back of the fuse box, work out which ones where there aren't wires. If there's not a wire, then take the fuse out and also tie it up with what's on the diagram. So that's the next job to do. So I'm going to do that and I'll be back and tell you how it's gone. Now looking at the back of here, the wires aren't great. They've got bits of dust and crud on them, but they're still not too bad. But just to show you what I've found already is 1, 2, 3 is empty, and if you look at the back, it's difficult to show you, but 1, 2 and 3 is blank, so that's correct. 4 has got a fuse, 5 has got a supply to it, but no other side of the wire. So this is probably an optional feature, but in this case it's not installed on the car. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll take that one out and I'll try and match it all up so it makes a bit of sense. Slight update since the last one. What I've discovered is they're actually done in banks. Now let's see if I can get the camera in here. So if you look at where the yellow wires are, you can see there's several bunched together to that supply. Then the next set are bunched and the next set are bunched. So there's about 3 or 4 fuses that all have a common thicker supply cable to each one, so they run in banks. So that's why before, when I was looking at one of the blank fuses, it had what looked like a supply. It's because it's a bank, so we can test our way through that. It's just in case you're doing the same sort of thing and you find the same issue. And that's success with the fuse box now. There was only one fuse in that shouldn't have been. The rest all look fine. Now the next problem is matching the fuse sizes with what it should be, because unfortunately the diagram doesn't show the size of fuses, and I want to make sure those are all correct, because a larger fuse in any of these positions could cause an overload, and again that could cause our ECU to get damaged. So I now need to find the size that should be in each of these components. We'll match those up and double check that we've got the right size fuses and things. The other interesting one to note is this orange fuse here. Now it's an unusual fuse. It's actually not labelled on the fuse box, but I've taken it out, and it is a fuse. It's got continuity in it, but it's also keyed. It's got this little tab here, so it can't go in any other position. It has to go into this position here with the notch. So that's something else I need to look into and find out what is special about that fuse. Why is that so important, so that it's keyed? My suspicion is it may not just be a fuse, it may just be a bridged connection or something like that, almost like a master fuse. The labels on it, I'm not sure if you'll be able to make this out or not with the camera, but it's got very little that makes out what it is. So again, need to have a look into this one. And now I think moment of truth. What we're going to do is battery disconnected. Let's plug the replacement ECU in, and then we can see whether we get relay clicking or any problems straight off, and we'll see how we get on. So let's get this plugged in. So this is the replacement ECU that will get plugged in. I'll do that and we'll see what we get. ECU is plugged in. Let's connect the battery up. Battery's on. You can hear so far, it sounds good. I do still have the fuel pump disconnected just to be sure, but what we should hear is when I put the key in, we should hear the fuel relay come on and we should get ignition lights. And that sounds exactly what I was hoping for. I'll just do that again and have a listen. That first click you hear is the ABS switching off. So far, this is really encouraging. I think what we'll now do is we'll connect the fuel pump and we'll see if the fuel pump primes on itself, which is ran by the two relays that we've got under the dashboard here. So the fuel pump's now connected, so we should hear the fuel pump prime when the ignition goes on. And that was exactly what we heard. We heard a quick prime and then it turned off. Let's just run that one more time and have a listen. And it hasn't primed again because it didn't need to. This looks good, so let's go for it. Started, it's working. It looks like it's been the ECU all along and we've got it working. So now we can crack on with all the rest of the project. Now just to go back over it, I was so excited. I haven't actually checked anything at all when the car started. I just wanted to see if it started, and it did. It started almost at first turn of the key, and it ran. It didn't cut out, it didn't stall out, so that's great news. So what that means is the ignition coil is working great. The injectors, amazingly, are working great. Now, I did replace the spark plugs. I've done an oil change on it. We don't have any coolant in it at the moment, so the next job is going to be to fill it up with coolant, check for any leaks, that kind of thing. But we've got a working engine, and it sounds great. The exhaust's blowing a little bit, but that's to be expected. I'm expecting to need to redo the exhaust and a few other bits and pieces, but now we can actually look at getting the rest of the car up to speed now that we know we have a working engine, a working ECU and electronics. Now, I'm not sure what other faults we might find as we work along, but now we've got a base, we can start looking into it. So great news, and as you can probably tell, I'm over the moon with this. This is really great news for our project Volvo 480. So what warnings have we got on? We've got the safety restraint system, which will be airbags, seat belts, that kind of thing. We've got a light failure, which I'd expect because I've got most of the bulbs out, but we don't have any other engine warnings on, which is great news. Now, it's not running as smooth as it can, and It's got a bit of a smell of petrol to it, so it might be a little bit rich at the minute, but considering it's not been running for quite a few years, that's kind of expected, I'd say. Also, we need to have a look at the info center, because again, it looks like it's stopped working. Now, I did have this working, and it looks like it's stopped, so we need to take a look and figure out what it is that's going wrong there. But other than that, I think that's good. That's probably going to be the end of this video for now, and I think next time we can take a look at the rest of the car and we can figure out what's next on the list of jobs to do. That's enough for one day. So we've had it running a couple of times. I've also had it moving under its own gearbox, gears, clutch, all sounds very good. The brakes are quite seized, took quite a bit of effort to make the car move, but we know that we've got sticky brakes on the front at least. Haven't even looked at the rears, so that'll be another job. Also want to check into the coolant situation, because the coolant, I've added some coolant to it, but it doesn't seem to be circulating. Could just be that it's not up to temperature, obviously, because the thermostat hasn't opened yet. The coolant pipes are getting hot, so that does look good. What we want to check though is that the coolant pump, which is the middle on that one, I believe, is working, and that hasn't failed on us, because that could have gone. Then we've got all the other auxiliaries to check out: the ABS, the brake system, the power assisted steering, all of that kind of thing. And it is running a little bit rich as well. Now, I'm not sure whether there's much I'll be able to do, because it's an ECU controlled injection engine, but we can take a look into that now that we've got some progress. So that's all for now, folks. I hope you join me on the next video for the Volvo 480, and we'll see what else we can find with it. But so far, really good news. Don't forget to stay subscribed. If you're not subscribed already, press the subscribe button, and if you want notifications, press the bell as well, and you'll find out when we get some more updates. But next video coming very shortly. Let's take a look at some more in-depth on the Volvo 480, and thanks for watching.